Hello there, and welcome back to the Sky Guys podcast. The Star Wars Video Game Club is open once again, week 4. And we are almost through our journey through the titular Star Wars RPG. I'm one of your hosts, Mike Phillips. With me, as always, our most trusted party member here, Max Roberts. Max, welcome. How are you?
Good to see you again. Exciting week this week.
Yep. Also here with us today, the new head of the Sith Academy on Korriban, Nick D'Alessio is here. Nick, how are you?
I'm doing great. I am this is the episode. This is the one we've been dancing around, walking on eggshells, trying not to say any too much, so we're gonna dive into it today.
Yeah, we are going to dive into it today. And Nick, people want to subscribe to the Sky Guys. They can do so Apple Podcasts, Google Play, TuneIn, Spotify, Amazon, all usual suspects. Simply search for the Sky Guys here podcast platform. Find what says there. And our KOTOR journey is almost over, but don't forget to stay around because the OG co-host Nick and Pete will be back in 2 weeks, and we're going to have some fun summer stuff planned. Make sure you're subscribed.
Yep, and you don't have to pay for anything. I don't know if that's clear. Everything you just press a button, you subscribe, you get the content. It's so easy. You're missing out by not doing it.
Yeah, you can see the video version as well. Mike Phillips on the Sky Guys YouTube channel, so you can check all that fun stuff there. And Max, how else can people follow us on social media?
At Sky Guys Podcast or email at skyguyspod, not podcast, skyguyspod at gmail.com.
Yep. Let's also go to our social media comment that we're going back to TikTok this week. This comment is from Jay Calm Down, our discussion last week about the Dave Filoni situation with the future head of Lucasfilms here. And Jay Calm Down says, you can have lore or you can have themes. Star Wars is always about more about themes than it has been about the lore. Most fans don't seem to get that, though. That's why they have legends. So either you guys want to weigh in on this comment?
Is he saying that that's the reason why there's a Legends unit, like non-canon aspect? Is that what he's getting at?
I think he's more the idea of the lore is like more legends based. It seems that what Filoni tends to pull from, whereas you need somebody who's worried about the themes of Star Wars, is what made Andor so successful.
I mean, I don't know why you can't necessarily have both. I feel like you could set a story. I mean, this is a really good example of that, right? Is that you took little tidbits of lore and you built a whole new era of Star Wars in KOTOR with a really good story. So I don't know that you necessarily can't. I do agree, though, that if you set it too much in the established universe, it's hard to move out of that.
I think Nick, the point I would look at this is like having lore is cool, but like to the point where it feels like okay, you need to have read this book or watched like 11 seasons of animated shows to understand the reference I'm making in the live action show. I think it's a harder sell for like your
Oh,
average
yeah.
audience.
Yeah,
Yes, I agree with that.
it definitely is though. I feel like Clone Wars and Rebels did a pretty good job though of giving you themes and arcs while also like really sinking into the lore. So there is a way to do both. It just seems like lately they haven't figured out the right balance between the two.
I would say Mando like 1 and 2 had that balance. And then like once we got past that and we started diving deeper into the lore, that's when we sort of went off the tracks a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so let's get to the Star Wars news here, and another fun week of stuff here, Nick. And there's a lot of kerfuffle around this Rey movie.
Yeah, so we'll start there. So a rumor has stated that the Rey movie is being put on hold while James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi movie appears to be the next Star Wars project for theaters after Star Wars Starfighter.
So as we talked about, Max, the Rey movie has been in development hell. It seems like since it was announced at Celebration in 23. It makes sense the Mangold movie, which sort of has the Andorish vibes, to be one after Andor. Like, cool, let's try this. Whereas Rey, they're still holding on until they get the right idea for it.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. It seems like more people are excited about the Dawn of the Jedi. And I mean, I think it's undeniable that the sequel trilogy did well financially, but was very divisive amongst the Star Wars fan base. So if you're trying to not rock the boat too much, putting that on ice is probably the better call.
Yeah, Nick, I think the argument you make here is sort of like, and we talked about this with Pete and Nick a few weeks ago about this movie, is the idea that like out of the sequel trilogy, Rey is really your only piece of marketable IP left that you can use. And like if you put a movie out with Rey and it sucks, like you basically burned the character for like another like decade.
Yeah, and I just don't know. like I don't know how many people are asking for that. It's like I think they kind of the way they ended the sequel trilogy kind of was like, they tied a nice bow on it. It doesn't need to have much more. I think if you want to reintroduce Rey, maybe have movies set in the future and then have her pop in every now and then. But I don't know. I just don't know how much people want this.
I will say it's a merchandising play, Max, because like Nick and Peter said, if you go down to the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, like there are so many little girls dressed as Rey. There's a lot of Rey merch. They want to find a way to tap into that market.
Yeah. I mean, I don't blame them for doing it. I think the idea with this movie was that it was set after the sequel trilogy, right? And she was kind of taking on Luke's role in Legends, and I don't necessarily think that's problematic. It's just it has to be matched with a compelling story, and I think Disney's trying to find something that can cater at least to old and new Star Wars fans alike.
Yeah, and there's more on that Rey movie, right, Nick?
Yeah, so just keep going on the Ray movie train. There was further conflicting reports on the fate of the Ray movie, with one
Oh,
Lucasfilm source saying that the project is not on hold and awaiting a script, while another said there are multiple Star Wars movies in development with Ray as the main character. So your guess is as good as ours. What's going on with that?
2 words, development hell.
Yeah, I'm gonna fill the Nick role and say it's never gonna happen.
Yeah,
I'll believe it when I see it.
I will believe it when I see it. It's like I think they want to do it, but just like Max, are you a Seinfeld guy?
no, I'm more of a Curb guy,
Nick
but
knows that, well, no, this Seinfeld reference here. This is like Jerry Seinfeld at the airport trying to get the rental car and like lecturing the rental car agent. Like everybody can take the reservation. You have to hold the reservation. They can come up with the idea of the right movie, but they don't know how to make the right movie.
Yeah. And it's what you're saying before. I mean, like marketing wise, it makes sense. And there's a lot of people that view Ray as like their Star Wars character. It's just how do you make it appeal to everybody? That's tough.
All right. Let's go on. I think there's a video game item of interest here.
Yes. So Battlefront 2 has broken its all-time player record again with 35,892 people actively playing the game on June 22nd, 8 years after its initial release.
Yeah, so the Battlefront 3 demand is still out there, Max. I don't know if it will happen, but like the people are doing a good job trying to make the case that there will be a market for it.
I see lots of videos on YouTube where people are like, there should be a Battlefront 3, Battlefront 3. Mostly it's hype for the original 3, like the free radical version, which had like the air to space or ground to space combat and all that fun stuff. Um, I'd be pumped for it. I just wanted to have more of a single player focus than a multiplayer focus. I've always thought that was an interesting element.
So you want like the story mode kind of like from the Battlefront 2 of 2017, where they give you the post Return of the Jedi storyline you follow through.
Yeah, I'd want some more story mode content. I mean, I was never like a big multiplayer guy, but I played a lot of original Battlefront 2. Like I would always play against the CPUs, and I just like enjoy the little story side of things. I think if you do that, plus you introduce some new mechanics, people will go crazy for that.
All right. What else we got,
But
Nick?
no microtransactions. No
I was
Absolutely,
I
microtransactions.
was
absolutely
I was
not.
just gonna say before I do the next bit of news, I don't think it's a coincidence either that they got rid of microtransactions and all that gimmicky stuff and people started playing the game again. It's crazy how that happens.
Yeah, for sure.
So Disney is working on ideas for a potential Mandalorian trilogy if The Mandalorian and Grogu is successful in theaters. Um, I don't think that's ever gonna happen.
That's no shit, Sherlock. Like the movie's successful, make more movies.
Yeah,
I don't
I
think it
don't.
should happen.
I
It,
like he's the most marketable character. Like if they do well, they will make more of it. That's like the only like marketable stuff in the Mando verse right now in terms of like, mass audience. So they may be a few years late in the boat for Grogu stuff.
I was gonna say I think they're a little too late on the boat on this one. I think a
If it was
couple of
20,
years ago.
if it was 2021, we had this movie. I think we like raking in the dough.
I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people are like Mandalorian and Grogu, what's that? Or like don't even really care as much anymore, but we'll see.
Max, people in your circles aware this movie is coming.
I think Nick's brother is aware that this movie is coming, and I obviously am, but I don't know. I mean, most of my friends aren't like big Star Wars fans, so I don't think I'm a good sample size.
I say I'm curious if like the person on the street knows this movie's actually coming because there's very little marketing out about it at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so one more I think here. This is going to be an interesting tie into what we discussed a few weeks ago with the skeleton crew kind of stuff.
Yep. So the last piece of news for this week, there are rumors that Jadna Nawud, played by Jude Law in Skeleton Crew. I might have messed that name up. Jadna.
That's
Jad.
that's right.
Okay. The guy that Jude Law played in Skeleton Crew is going to be returning in future Star Wars projects.
That's the rumor, Max, and like it's our first positive sign of news about Skeleton Crew. It's like we talked last week about Boba Fett, like how they sort of abandoned him in the wind after his thing with show flopped, and Skeleton Crew well received by audiences, not watched enough. So if, at least you feel encouraged that like they think that Jod has potential in other things.
I I would be sort of unhappy because I felt like Skeleton Crew, they wrapped it up very nicely. So from a story point of view, I don't know that you need more of it, but I would love to see more Skeleton Crew content. It was really well done. The characters were really enjoyable. I think you could do a lot with that set of people. And you could definitely do a lot with John Nah. I'd be interested in knowing more about his background also, especially. I think he seems like a pretty interesting character.
Yeah, we'll talk about it next week a little bit in terms of like the Star Wars map came out. I want to dive more into the map, the official galaxy map. Like there is an interesting detail that makes you feel like that this Skeleton Crew storyline could get picked up a little bit in Ahsoka too.
Oh, interesting.
All
I
right.
do like Jod as a character, and I think Jude Law fits perfectly in it, so I wouldn't mind seeing more of him.
All right, that and the news department here.
That's all for news this week.
All right, let's get into the game here. We're gonna do a little chunk of the game where a big chunk of the story happens. So we talked about last week. We're gonna start out. You get captured by the Leviathan, which is Saul Carrot's ship. You learn in a cutscene real quick, like, okay, we need to, like, they're gonna capture the ship. Like, they're not gonna do it. Like, basically, Karth, Bastel, and you are gonna basically be like the main focus of the Sith right there. And you see an interrogation scene going on at some point. Like before this happens, you have to pick one person in your party to basically do a prison break by themselves, and it can't be you three. And as much even though they give you a dial option for Zalbar, it cannot be Zalbar. So, Max, who would you pick to run the prison break?
I did Giovanni. I don't remember who I picked when I first played this game years ago, but I was like, she's a Jedi. She's stronger than Jolie, so she can fend off the guards by herself. I'm realizing I could have just stealthed with her, and it worked out very well. She was able to like disarm all the guards. She had strong enough force power, strong enough fighting abilities. And she apparently, I think you told me this, Mike, because she can turn invisible or she has the stealth belt, she keeps her weapons. She doesn't have to go retrieve them.
Yeah, that's a big edge. Is why I did Johanny because like basically the dialogue they gave is like, oh, like if someone had to be invisible, we can find him on the ship, and then like she like basically like goes on stealth mode, like kills two guards, and you can start running around here. And Nick, since Johanny died and on Dantooine in your version of the game, who did you pick to get you out of jail?
Well, quickly before that, when you guys picked Juhani, what's her like? How does she do it? Like, what does she say? Like, this is the plan. Like, what does that look like before? Because everybody that you pick, they give you a plan of how they're going to do it.
They say it's basically stealth is the idea.
Okay, all right. So I went with Canderous. 'Cause my thought process was he heals himself naturally just by walking around. So like if I get into too much trouble, then I'll do that. Candace's thing, he pretends like he was working on the ship to try and get it out of the tractor beam,
Hey,
and then an explosion happens and you set off a grenade and he kind of almost dies, but that's part of it. And then he kind of brings himself back to life with his natural healing abilities, and then you go around and free everybody.
yeah, I forgot that Candace is Star Wars Wolverine.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was my thought process too, because I'm like, I guess in hindsight, I could have taken Jolie because he can heal himself. But I was like, I don't want to have to think about healing. I want to just be able to do anything. So that's why I went with him.
Yeah, those are some interesting choices here. I know, like allegedly, like T3 is the hardest one to try it with. Like I believe, because like you have to like do a bunch of logic puzzles to get out of like situations, from what I've read.
Oh, that's frustrating.
The only other person, because like you can kind of select everybody and it'll give them their plan. And I think with HK, not HK, yeah.
HK like pretends like he's one of their droids, I think,
Yeah,
allegedly.
yeah, and then he's like, then I'll turn he had like a backup hard drive essentially, and he would fry his brain and they would throw him in the trash heap, and then he would come back on the back line with his backup power. And I was like, that sounds way too risky. I don't want to try that.
Yeah, there's that one. Mission is basically your security specialist. You're like sneak around and pick the locks. Like then I believe Jolie, I think I read is that he has like a Jedi mind trick where he like tricks the guards to let him out of his cell, but then you have to like go find his stuff.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a fun little like playthrough here, and like they do give you options here. Like if you're not where like the whole thing is you have to sort of like get a security guard like security doors down to get to the main trio. And I do like that if you don't have computer skill, it was like a random Rhodian dude and it says like, yeah, I have to pick a key card. Like you can like get me out of here. I'll just give you the key card.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that guy was great to find because I was thinking, I'm like, boy, I picked the wrong person to hack computers. And it's funny for my playthrough. I'm standing there. You can break down those force fields, but
Yeah.
I'm standing there with Canderous holding like a mini gun, and it took him like I'm not even kidding, like 97 shots to hit the door. And I'm like, what are you doing, man? The door's not moving. Why are you hitting one out of every five shots? But I was like, I can't do this all day, and I'm glad I found that Rhodian because that definitely saved time.
Yeah, it's a fun little sneak through the Leviathan and Max Leviathan level itself is a gold mine if you're a looter because you can get like so many credits and items just by like opening every box and locker and basically grabbing stuff off of every corpse you kill.
Yeah, I got so much gear from the Leviathan, just going into every single container, doing every single little computer terminal for experience, killing every single Sith. Yeah. And I think you get some pretty high level stuff in terms of like the blasters and the armor from my recollection. I mean, it's hard to say because my like since you're a Jedi, you don't really use any of it. Like you have the Jedi robes and a lightsaber. But as far as like the I think you get some pretty good crystals though, if I recall.
You get some rare crystals you can pull
Yeah.
off of like Dark Jedi you kill.
Yes. Which are very, very nice.
Yeah. And Nick, it's nice to be able to open like a box and like, oh, 2,000 credits, cool.
Well, you know me, I'm flush with credits. I've
Uh,
sold out and extorted half of the galaxy at this point.
yeah, for you it's pocket change.
Yeah, I was like, oh, 2,000 more credits. Sure, I guess I'll take that. When you guys before the breakout happens, there's the interrogation where Karth's old mentor was interrogating you guys.
Yep.
How did you guys go about the interrogation?
I think like light side wise, I went sort of standard Jedi, like don't give the information up.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
I also did not give anything up.
Yeah, like
well,
I
I
tried
I
lying and then
spilled the
in by it.
beans.
Yeah, you're like, sure, like, yeah, boy, have I got a story for you.
I told him, and every time I told the truth, the guy, I can't remember his name.
So
Yeah, he was like, okay, cool, you're gonna just give that up. And every time Bastila is like, what are you doing? Like, stop it. And then the game even gives you a chance to back out, and you could say something like, Bastila, I'm doing this so you don't get hurt. And I was like, no, no. I was like, let me be a Sith. Here's everything that we've ever done ever.
yeah, and I'm sure they still torture Basil anyway.
Oh yeah, they still torture you, and then Karth is kind of like, I know him. He knew all this information anyway. He was just testing us. So like, there's no real
There's no real
like.
negative. You don't get dark side points for that.
I think you do, but it's just funny to see everybody be like,
Yeah,
well,
he knew.
the reveal that's going to happen next. It's funny for that to lead up to the reveal.
Yeah, I will also say like on the light side version, Max, remember here like Basil's like at one point it's like, yeah, like I was kind of hoping you'd stop and tell him something at one point so he'd stop. And then like I think the dialogue tree option is like, yeah, he's probably just gonna torch you anyway. So it's nice that Nick's side confirms that.
That that is fair. Yeah, that there was no really easy way out. He either was going to know it or he's going to torture everybody.
Yeah. All right. So you do get to a point where like when after you get free, Canderous takes the crew to go take the ship back. You, Bastila, and Karth go to confront Saul on the bridge. You have a big fight there. You win. Saul whispers something to Karth, and Karth's like, "What?" You can see Karth's like demeanor change in a second. He's like, "Bastila, you knew?" He's like, "Not now. We gotta get off the ship. We'll talk about it later." And then you get to the big turning point of the entire game where you run into Malik in the hallway, and then Malik drops the bomb on you, literally, the game player. That not like your guy, you are not like Niblin or Varian Sky or whoever Mac. I forgot Max. Like you were Maul Yoda, right?
I was Maul Yoda.
Yeah.
Maul Yoda.
Yeah, you're not one of those guys. You are actually Darth Revan, and that you were captured by Bastila. They erased your mind, and then they reprogram you. And they have a fun sequence where they show you all the times they were foreshadowing it earlier in the game, and then they do this. In case it didn't land yet, they have a shot of Revan taking his mask off as your face. So, Nick, reaction the first time you played through the game, seeing that reveal.
Like the first time, like 20 years
Ever?
ago.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, because I feel like I'm sure there were games with crazy plot twists out at that time, but I wasn't really playing them at that point in time. You know, it's not like today where a lot of video game storytelling is elevated to such a cinematic level. So, like, then to be playing a game and you're like, wait a second, I was the bad guy the whole time. Like, my mind blowing, mind melting. I feel like for video game storytelling, this has got to be such a turning point, such a important moment because it's a huge IP, it's a huge game, and then here's this ridiculous twist that doesn't normally happen.
Yeah, Max, I've said it like at the time. I will say here, probably like at minimum a top 10 video game twist of all time in terms of story.
I mean, I think the other thing to remember is uh, the internet was still not as pervasive as it is now in our lives. So, like forums, I don't think were as thorough. There wasn't really a way to like figure this out ahead of time. So when I had this twist happen to me, God, I guess it was like 20 years ago, I was floored. Like, you're Revan? What? Uh, Simultaneously, for anyone who has not been watching this, who has been watching this podcast with us, every time that we've like spoken about the main character in my head, I've been like, "Don't say it's Revan. Don't say it's Revan. Don't say it's Revan." So I'm glad finally I don't have that moment. Replaying it though, it is interesting how much they foreshadow the twist with the character interaction. So, like, when Karth at the beginning of the game is like, don't you think it's suspicious that you just ended up on Bastila's ship and you were like some random guy? And you're like, yeah, it is suspicious and it makes sense because you're Revan. Or when Bastila is like, oh, I didn't think I would fall for you that fast because and she like kind of trails off and it's like, oh, now this makes sense. So just replaying it again, it's interesting how many little breadcrumbs they drop, but they set it up very well. You really do not see it coming.
Yeah, there are a lot of lines, and then they take the moment to flash back to all the lines you have, Nick, whether it's, Karth saying the Force can do terrible things to a mind. You have Rook at the Jedi Academy Dantooine saying this, like, be careful, this could lead you down an all too familiar path. You have the line from Bass like Jedi don't kill their prisoners. Like they spell it out for you really nicely. You look back like, oh, that's what they were trying to tell me.
Yeah, playing the
Yeah.
game a second time, absolutely. You're like, it's it when you know what's happening, they're almost laying it on pretty thick
Yeah.
about it. But if it's your first time playing, you have no way of knowing that. And I think an even crazier part about it is Bastila's involvement and just the Jedi's involvement anyway. Like, not only like they all are lying, they all kept it under wraps, they all like brainwashed you into becoming something else, and they took a defeated Revan and essentially rewired his brain so that he could be used as a tool. Like that's not making them that much better, you know? Like it's pretty morally gray what they did, and they're the ones that are supposed to be preaching all this like not being gray, being the light side. So it's just a super interesting development.
Well,
It's
that's kind of what Malik says, right? Is it's like they basically enslaved you. They're like, let's reprogram you, let's wipe away all you did, and let's just kind of use you as a tool to get to the Star Forge. And they can say, oh, well, we did it because the Sith are evil. But it's like, okay, but you just like commandeered this person and broke them of any free will.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very morally like gray at the best situation for sure here. And like you get to question Bastila about, I'm sure Nick did, and like her thing is like, yeah, like we were desperate to get to the Star Forge, and like you had an opportunity, we had an opportunity with you to just sort of like retrace your steps, and then like you start thinking like, oh, like all these flashbacks I've been having throughout the game where the maps are, and like these moments I'm seeing with Bastila on the ship, like it's his suppressed memories trying to come back.
Yeah.
It
And
also, go ahead, Nick. Go ahead, Nick.
well, I'm just like having this realization now. I think the order that we did the planets, the canonical order, it actually makes sense now because it starts you off the most like this is black and white. Here's all the good things, and then it slowly becomes more and more and more gray. And then Manon is like everything is just could go either way. And then we end with Korriban, which we're going to talk about later, where it's the most like obviously evil. So it's almost like mentally you're supposed to be going on that like I'm the good guy journey, and then all of a sudden like things aren't exactly what they seem, and then the reveal happens.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
I will say also like the dialogue trees you get with with Bastila after you find out this information where like it's interesting because like if you want to do the light side pray through like there's the only option like yeah I forgive you Bastila like I understand that like even then like it doesn't even feel like a real reaction to something a person would have like the Nick's dark side it takes probably more realistic to the situation.
Yeah, I agree with that. There also I just was remembering another thing on Kashyyyk we were talking about you go to like the computer that is mapping the Starge Forge and it's like oh you match a template that's there and it's because you're being matched to Revan and it's like this like ruthless and the reason that the dark side questions worked is that Revan was like this very ruthless military commander.
Yeah.
So again, that's another. But yes, that is an interesting point that Nick makes. I've never considered that before. The order of the planets is really kind of delving more into like the moral complexity, and it's like here's the really good stuff, and here's the really evil stuff, and you see more of the in between.
Yeah, you do get a lot of that here, and like obviously, like Max and I did the interesting, like the very forced, like okay, we forgive you, and Malik loses his mind, you start fighting him. Nick, dark side dialogue in this sequence here. How'd you play the situation? I'm sure you took the righteous indignation route.
Well, so the options aren't as crazy as you would think because a lot of like the negative things you say, it's almost like there's no like I knew I was evil the whole time. It's more like
You're pissed.
you're kind of confused and angry. Yeah, it's almost kind of like wait, so
You
what did
used
the
me.
Jedi do to me? Like Bastille, why didn't you tell me? You knew this the whole time, and then it starts to almost flip where Malik is like, it's like, oh yeah, by the way, Malik, you betrayed me, man. Like, what the hell, man? So, like, it kind of like that role kind of flips of being mad at Bastila and the Jedi to being like, Malik, you turned your ship on me, like, and I knew you were going to usurp my throne, but like, I didn't know you were going to do it like that. Like, at least face me person to person, not like at a distance, And Malik even says something to that effect, where Malik is like, a lot of people question me, saying I'm not strong enough to do this, so I'm going to prove it to you now. And then the battle ensues.
Yeah. You end up fighting basically Malik a couple of days, like, and then like at the end, you basically fight him to like a standstill. Then Bastila comes in. He's like I'll hold him off, go, and then you have to leave the ship, and you lose Bastila for basically the rest of the game. So like this leads to a fun conversation, like on the Evan Hawk, because Revan is, I mean, like Karth is there. It's like, okay, guys, time, like, everybody sit down. We got a story for you, and then you learn that you have to tell everybody you're Revan and like see their reaction
Yeah,
to it. So
he says like, do you want to tell them or should I? So I don't know if Nick, if you made Karth say it.
I'm sure he did.
I said, Karth, if you open your mouth, I'm going to kill you. And he was like, oh, yeah, sure. Threaten me now. Hey, everybody, he's Revan. Like,
Yeah, so like obviously we have that conversation here and like it's
It's
interesting
interesting.
like how accepting like your crew is of your past because like especially on the light side like it's like you've done all of these good things like oh like you're not him anymore like you're Varian or like you're Maul Yoda like we believe in you.
Yeah, I think Mission makes, I guess, the most salient point, which is you don't remember being Revan, right? So you're not him anymore.
Like
Juani actually loves you because she's like, the Jedi who rescued me on Taurus from my slaver was Darth Revan, or
Revan.
Revan, I guess, at that time. Um, so she's a big fan of his. That makes her respect you more. Uh, Parth, I guess, like sort of cares, but kind of is okay with it. And Zalbar is like, I swore a life debt to you. I don't care who you are. Uh, Coming out of left field, though, HK47 is like, you actually were my master, Revan. You created me. So now I respect you even more.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, yeah, I was like, because like if you hadn't completed the HK-47 side quest, it basically gets solved for you. He's like, oh wait, this triggered my memory banks. Like you're like I was your assassin droid. Like, and then he's like, I'm glad to be back with you, creator slash master.
Yes, and Malik is the original meat puppet. I think the most interesting one, and then Canderous gains respect for you because he's like Revan was the most ruthless, commendable commander that I ever dealt with. Like I will follow you to the ends of the earth. The most interesting one, I don't think they ever really delve into it, is Jolie is like, oh yeah, I already knew,
Yeah, you
and
get
it's like,
if you get deeper into his dialogue tree, he tells like, yeah, I knew. It's like it's not my place to tell you.
but like, how did he know? Does he just was around when Revan was around? Like I don't think they ever really explore that.
So they said like if you finish the Jolie story, like Max basically like one of his things like, oh yeah, like I thought about Exar Kun. So he's been a Jedi for a long time. So like he was aware of what's going on.
I So I did finish his dialogue, but I didn't know. I mean, I thought the whole thing with Revan was that he always wore a mask, so people didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
So I guess Jolie maybe just he bumped into Revan. Like I don't know, maybe they're just like both taking a leak in the bathroom, and Jolie like looks over and is, oh, that's what Revan looks like.
He
No,
probably saw you on a Coruscant once or some point in his life.
that is also possible too. But I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess that makes sense why you followed me, but okay.
All right, Nick, dark side, how'd the conversations go on your ship?
So I think because it's a 2003 game, 2002 game, when did it come out?
Oh,
I
three.
think
2003, yeah.
there's probably a lot of limitations and they couldn't really do too much because my interactions with everybody was virtually the same. Where everybody and I was a little bit surprised by that too because I'm like I've been a real asshole this entire time and everybody's essentially like, well, you were Revan, but you're not that anymore. The only person that is like Karth is the only one that he's like, are we serious, guys? Like this guy, this is the guy that we're. And then Karth eventually is like, well, we literally can't save Bastila without you, and it seems like you want to go after Malik also. So
Our
the
interests
enemy of
align.
my enemy is my friend kind of thing. But everybody else was so just like mission same thing. She's like, well, you don't remember your memory, so you're fine with me. And Zalbar was like, Zalbar's like, I don't like you, but I did give you a life debt, so I'm gonna serve you no matter what. Canderous was the most pumped. Canderous was like, "Yeah, brother, hell yeah! I can't believe I'm fighting for Revan again. Like, hell yeah, not again. I'm
He's
fighting
like,
for
he's like,
Revan now.
he's like, I'm on Revan's team finally.
Yeah, yeah. With HK47, if you have a high enough science skill, do you find this out earlier? Like, how does that work? Because I never was able to do that.
I believe it's like it has to. You have to. I think like basically put all your points into like repair to like get it done before that.
And then you find out like he's like, oh, Revan was my master or
Yes.
something.
I think you might get that. I think you have to go through like three repairs at least before you get there.
Okay,
That's
but
why I think you need your skill. I think you have to be like a level 8 repair just to get the first one done.
gotcha. Okay. But yeah, so the conversation with everybody was not that much different considering I'm like full on evil. They were kind of just like, yeah, we're all gonna go after Malik and we're gonna save Bastille and you're our best shot at it.
Yeah. Basically, the takeaway, Max, on this is that like everybody on the ship is very cool with you. Karth does not trust you as much as everybody else, but he kind of goes along like, okay, everybody else is on board with this. I guess I'm on board with it.
And Karth has never really trusted you to begin with, so
He's
you've
like,
just kind of confirmed his theory, which is that the people that are the closest to him are always not who they seem. By the way, on the Jolie thing, the one theory I saw, because I was just curious, I was Googling it, was perhaps Jolie like sensed Revan when he came to Kashyyyk or Kashyyyk, I always forget how to pronounce it, and he therefore could sense the same thing in you when you came back to Kashyyyk, right?
right.
Because Revan went to Kashyyyk to get the star map, and initially, and Jolie was there. But again, still, I don't know. Jolie just seems like kind of a crazy mystic guy.
Yeah, I think he's probably like either run into you or maybe he like senses your energy.
Yeah. But
All
yeah,
right.
basically everyone's on board, good or bad. Karth gets on the train, or he's fine with you if you're on the light side.
Yeah, yeah, Karth like eventually light side's easier to get Karth back on board because he's like, yeah, like you might be right, but like your actions have not been the same. Whereas like at Nick's side, we saw like, okay, like yeah, like I still don't trust you, but like our interests align, so we're gonna keep riding this out a little longer.
Yep.
All right, so let's get to Korriban, which is the last planet here, and it's very interesting to like have it afterwards, especially like you can go around tell people like, oh, I'm Darth Revan, and then they just don't believe you.
Yeah, except for there's the Twi'lek guy in the very beginning who he's like, is it a Twi'lek or is it a Rhodian? I forget.
I think it's a Rodian.
I don't I apologize. I don't mean to be alien racist, but
Yeah.
sometimes I get my alien races confused. But yeah, he comes up to you and he's just like, "Ah, Lord Revan, you've returned." And he's like, "What? How did you know that?" And they say they've been following your ship for a while because it was Davik's ship, and
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it's funny every time you go up to a Sith person, you're like, "I'm Lord Revan, bow to me." They're like, "Yeah, okay, okay, buddy, sure."
Yeah, they probably think you're like high on spice whenever you're talking to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, the key here is that like the star map is basically in this like one of these tombs in the Sith Valley that like has like ruins of four ancient Sith lords, and like you need to pretend to be a student to go into the academy and like convince like the one of the Twi'lek number two of the academy, you throw a ban. You have to convince her like to take you in, and that like one of the it's definitely a lot of fun to get in there, and like you can bring partners along, but they have you basically have to pretend that they're your slaves, and like having this was the first time I ever had Joe Lee in the academy with me, and it's hilarious. Like when Joe Lee is how snarky he is at the whole situation.
Yeah. I think the most interesting thing about the Sith Academy is you get a lot more into the philosophy of the dark side, and the point is more of like, oh, we're not evil, we're just different. Like that's kind of, I guess, the idea. I agree with Nick's take of like this is canonical because it's supposed to be leading to you like these aren't the bad guys, they're just the different guys.
Yeah, it's like they're like the followers. They believe in like a different way of viewing the Force.
Like they go through the code of the Sith, and you're like, here's what each thing means, and it's not bad. We just, we're more about like freedom and power than just like, oh, we want to kill and enslave everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the best thing here. And you get to like see here like you are learning from like there's a headmaster at this academy called Uthar Wynn, and like he says, okay, you and like four others, we're gonna take one applicant this year into the Sith Academy, and we're gonna have this on a merit-based system. So whoever gets the most prestige, I don't know, like I'm not gonna tell you how much prestige each thing is worth, but whoever gives you the most wins the contest and gets to go like become a Sith. So like you have to go on these various missions to try and like acquire prestige. So you don't have to do everything on Korriban to get the prestige. So Nick, I'll start with you. What did you do to earn prestige?
So the first thing that I did was there's like an interrogation room and
Yeah.
there's a guy who's trying to figure out the right amount of like give like talk serum versus antidote, and you have to like get the right balance and get them to give up where this like shipment is before he dies, and you have to like kind of do like a delicate balance with that. So I did that one first. And then I think the second thing that I did was I can't remember the girl's name, the
Lash,
girl Sith.
lash out.
Yeah. Yeah, so I convinced her to meet me into like the big lands, and then there was a what was it, like a medallion thing that one of the animals had. So she was like, I convinced her to help me get it with her. And then once I got it, I killed her. Because she was like, let's go split the credit for this. And I was like, nah, I'm actually gonna take all the credit. And boy, let me tell you, when you do that, Uthar loves that.
Yeah.
He's like, wait, so you convinced somebody to do it for you and then you took them out so you have less competition? Maximum prestige, 50 points to Gryffindor. He's like, I love that. Like,
I think there were
um,
or average 50 points to Slytherin.
yeah, 50 points of Slytherin. Yeah. And then actually, now I'm thinking about it, I don't remember the third thing that I did. I think I kind of walked around and talked to everybody. And then the people that I was just like, there was the one guy who's like, I don't know if I want to be here. I don't know if I'm a Sith or not. And I was like, cool, I'm just gonna kill you because like just get you out of the mix because you don't even want to be here.
Less competition.
Yeah. And then I can't remember if there's anything else that I did. I'm sure there's one other thing that I did, but I think we all probably have some overlap.
Did you do this? Did you do the Sith code?
The Sith code, yep, that was the other one I did too. Yep.
Yeah, so like those are some of the missions you have here. A couple other things here. You can go into the Valley of the Sith and like sort of like explore tombs. Max, how many of those tombs did you get into?
I think I did all of them. So I did the Tomb of Ajunta Paul, and may Ajunta Fourth be with you.
Yeah.
Uh, he is, I think, supposed to be like one of the first Sith lords.
Yep.
And you can convert his, basically you like can get his sword. You can bring his spirit back to the light side of the Force and redeem him, or you can just kind of let him like pass away into the dark side. And then what's his face from the academy? The really snobby guy confronts you, and he's like, "Give me the sword." And either you can give him the actual sword, you can give him a fake sword because you get three options, and Uthar will kill him, or you can just kill him. And then there's one where I forget if it's a no, it's in like one of the caves or something. You can confront Uthar Wynn's old master, or in one of the tombs.
Yeah, it's in one of the tombs.
It's in one of the which tomb is that? That's not
I think it's not Nagasato because I think it might be Exar Kun's tomb.
Nagasato is the
Final.
main story tomb. Exar Mark maybe it's Marka Ragn? No, Marka Ragnos is the droid tomb, which I also did. Ajunta Paul is you know where it is in? It's in the tomb of Tulak Court. The
Yeah.
one that you are go to with Lashow. So you can confront Uthar Wynn's old master and you can convince I forget his name as well, but there's like another guy who gets stuck there, and you can convince him to leave the Sith as well,
Yeah,
which I also
it's McKell's over there.
Mikkel, that's what his name is. Okay.
Yeah, that's one. And then the third tomb is basically there's like a assassin droid in there that like has gone insane and like you destroy the droid or you can like liberate it and like set it free.
Yeah, and there's like a logic puzzle that you have to do, but in order to do that, you have to know to use like a stealth dampening field so that the droid doesn't get driven nuts.
Yeah. I did not know that. I ended up killing the droid and did not get any dark side points for that though. So
Yeah.
and
I think I killed the droid initially and then I reloaded and I did the stealth dampening way because I found it on the way back and I was like, oh, this is how you're supposed to do it.
another interesting like way to get prestige is one that I use is like that there you hear early on from Thor that there are a couple of like Sith students who like defected and like are in hiding and you find them in a cave like off the beaten path here and you can either kill them or is you're the light side option, which I did. You could clear the way for them, which means you fight a Terran Tarek and you kill the Terran Tarek. Let them run. You lie to Uthar that you killed them. He believes you.
Oh, that's interesting because I did that. Because I remember I did that one too, but I killed them. And then when I
Hmm.
go report that to Uthar, he's like, yeah, I know. I had somebody check the cave afterwards just to make sure. So
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Well, you have them, if you kill the Terran Tarek, they leave. So presumably if Uthar doesn't see them in there, he thinks they're either dead or missing.
Oh well, I killed them and I killed everything in that cave. You know.
Basically, he thinks the Terran Tarek ate them. Basically, that's the
Yeah.
assumption going on there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
Before,
if you are on the light side, you get the second best Jedi robes in the game. You get what's his face, the Keldroma robes.
yeah.
Yeah, kill the Terran Tarek, and he's like a big character in the EU as well.
Yeah, you get those here. And before we get to like after winning the prestige and going on here, let's talk about Kart's son Dustle, who is at the Sith Academy here. And Nick, how'd you deal with Dustle?
So I didn't get this side quest. Karth never revealed to me that his son was there. So
Never triggered for you?
I had Karth with me too, thinking like I'm like maybe if Karth's here and I maybe even though I missed the dialogue option, maybe Karth being here will have something happen, and it never happened to me. I think
So
that's
you
one
so
of
you
the
brought
things.
so you found Dustil in the academy, and you had Karth standing next to you, and there was no like, "Oh, son, you're alive" kind of talk.
It's just
I
Dustle not
guess
there.
I guess not. Yeah, and the quest unless I either made too many like bad dialogue choices, I was either too evil or the game was buggy, but it was probably the first two options because yeah, there was just no side quest with Karth.
You have to get someone who bumps into you in one of the spaceports and tells you that Dustil is still alive. So if that doesn't trigger for you, that would be why.
That never happened to me.
Yeah, because if you didn't get far enough along Kart's dialogue tree, you don't get that option.
Yeah, I think being
A
as
dick.
evil as it was, I think if I were to do this playthrough again, in hindsight, I would the dialogue options between companions, I would be a little bit nicer because I think I accidentally chose the dialogue options that locked it out permanently for a few people. But this is why you guys are here because now you can tell everybody what happens.
Yeah, so what happens with this Dustle side quest is basically like you bring Karth in with you, like Dustle's like mad at him because he thinks like he's lied and like that the Sith are like his saviors and like he's like, yeah, find evidence to show me why the Sith are evil and I'll leave. And then like
Well,
you
just to back up, is that Karth thinks that his son and wife died on Telos when Saul Karth bombs the planet, and his wife did in fact die, but his son survived, and so Karth finds out from some old companion or old war buddy that like, oh, my son is on Telos. Holy crap! Like he's alive, and then he or not on Telos on Korriban, and he's gotten to the Sith. And then yes, then you have to go find evidence that the Sith are actually evil.
Yeah, and the evidence you basically find here is that you find out that like Uthar had like presumably like Matt Say is his girlfriend, you would say.
It's like yeah, it's like the person you joined the academy with, he thought that she was not worthy of being the Sith and was holding Dustil back, so he had her killed.
Yeah, you show that to Dustle the data pad. He's like, "Oh shit, I gotta leave." And then like he like basically says like, "I'm gonna like tell other people to get out of here." And like you don't see him again the rest of the storyline, but you did like facilitate some kind of reunion with Karth and his son.
Yes, there was like some, dad after the war, we should talk.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's a little bit of like, oh, like when we're done, we'll go back to Telos on a beer.
Yeah.
All right. So then we end up here with the situation where you have this power struggle in the Sith Academy between Yuthura Ban, who is like the number two, and Uthar's number one. They're both plotting against each other here. You get asked to pick a side here, and like they take you into the tomb of Nagasata. You complete the quest, you get the lightsaber, and then like Uthar's like, okay, kill Yuthura. And that's your final test. And then Yuthura says, no, let's work together and kill him. So your options are fight fight Uthor, or just say, like, screw both you guys. I'm the king now, and fight both of them. So Nick, who did you side with?
So I was like, I'm gonna be honorable for once in my life. I sided with, I get their two names confused. It's Uthar and
Yuthura.
Ithura. So because I made the deal with her that I'll help her take him out, I was like, I'm gonna do that. And two against one, this was maybe the hardest fight of the game so far. This might have been harder than Malik for me. I don't know if maybe it was just because the way my Jedi loadout is and I was alone because I don't really have any healing. The only way I heal is by draining life from other people, and he kept blocking that. Um, so I've killed Uthar with Euthura, and then Euthura turns and looks at me and she goes, "Thanks for your help. I'm gonna kill you now." And I was like, I should have seen that coming. So then I killed her too, and then I got out of there.
You still need to like. It's still beneficial for your game to side with one of them. It's fighting them both at the same time is lunacy.
Oh yeah, no, fighting them both is terrible. I needed Euthura to take out Uthar, and
Oh,
then he was easier to finish.
I killed both of them.
Oh,
The way that I've been running my Jedi is that I did get the dark side like drain life thing, but I also have maxed out the stun field thing.
Yeah.
So I do stuns them both, go in, do like the flurry strikes or like the max critical attack, take them out. Then like I keep just stun locking them and killing them. And I was able to take them out no problem. Although I hear the true light side thing is what Mike did.
Yes, there is another way to do this here. Is like it's something that you don't really pay attention to enough. Is like you can go talk to your Thura over and over again at the academy, and you learn about her past. You learn she was like basically like a slave at one point, and then she ends up escaping. She ends up going to Jedi and falls, and like you get to the point where you can get her to consider you a friend. That like you can obviously team up with her to take down Uthar. You do that, and then when you get to the point where like you get in the fight with her, you get to the point where she's like, "Kill me now." It's like you can convince her, like there's another way. You can go back to the light. So like you can turn Euthura back to the light side.
oh right, I forgot about the thing. When she was like, I yield, kill me. I was just like, okay,
Yeah.
like sure,
Did
yeah.
you and afterwards all three of us still had to massacre the entire Sith Academy or no?
Oh yeah, I had to fight my way out, and it was. I'm glad. So my version of what you do is my force lightning is like as high as it goes. So if
Mm.
there's like five or six people standing in a room, I just do a couple of force lightnings and it hits them all at the same time, and then I just kind of mop up afterwards.
Yeah, I think I think I've read the only way you don't have to massacre the Sith Academy is if you like side with Uthar and go back and let Uthar go back.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay. No, I had to massacre everyone. Actually, the hardest thing about the fight is that immediately your companions basically get mobbed by all the Sith Lords and killed because they're like on their own. So you basically have to fight the entire academy by yourself.
Yeah, so like that's a definitely a ton of XP potential there, and like you get a lot of that. And it's funny that when you get out of the base, you have to kill the one guard outside the front door.
I was thinking that's how funny that was too. I'm like, oh yeah, sure, this one guy is gonna stop. It was giving the door guy,
Yes,
Rick
I
the
was
door
just
technician
thinking that.
vibes. Yeah.
Rick the door technician.
Yeah,
I also had an interaction before getting into the Sith Academy that you guys definitely didn't have, because if you remember on Dantooine, there's like a Jedi, I can't remember her name, she's like walking around, because I killed Juhani in my playthrough. This one particular Jedi was very upset. She's like, I can't believe you did this, like Juhani was like somebody I cared about, blah blah blah. And I was like, okay, whatever, brush it off. Flash forward to on Korriban, she's there, she's now a Sith. She's like fallen from the Jedi Order because of her hatred for you, and she's like, buckle up, buddy, because I'm gonna kill you now. And then I killed her. But like it was interesting because they do say on Korriban that they get a lot of fallen Jedi, and how the Sith, some of the Sith people hate it because they're like, they act like they're so much better than us already. But that's the first time a seed was planted so early in the beginning and it paid off towards the end of the game. I thought that was cool.
That's
yeah,
so cool. I did not know that happens.
yeah. I think it's called I think it's Bolina. I think is her name.
Yeah. Yep. She was there and she was a full on Sith and she tried to kill me.
I also point out here, like we played Korriban last, which also comes after the fact that like after the Leviathan, that Dantooine gets bombed by Malik, so you can't go back there again. But if you go to Korriban early in the playthrough and convince your Thora to go to the light, you can go back to Dantooine. She's hanging out there.
Oh, cool.
So I don't know where she goes like now, but like she at least is attempting to go to the light side.
It's not in my playthrough. My playthrough, she is.
Yeah.
I guess mine and Nick's also.
All right, so let's wrap up your couple of like side quests here. I think there's only one really major side quest on Dantooine on Korriban, which is like you run into a guy outside the bar, a roadie. He's like, "Hey, you have Davik's ship? Like he had spice for me." And then you can drop the spice off, get credits, and then like he tries to basically get you being his errand boy. And I said F no. I don't know if Max did this. I know Nick took the quest.
I took the quest also.
And did you open the box?
Of course, I opened the box.
Yeah, because the game really wants you to open the box. The Rhodian's like, deliver this to the Wookiee, the hut on Tatooine. I can't remember his name.
Yeah,
And
the speed racer guy.
yeah, and he's like, but don't open the box. And then if you go to the box in your description, it like clearly says like, this is a box you're supposed to deliver to Tatooine. Do not open this box. And even the quest says don't open it. So naturally, I walked right up to it and I opened the goddamn thing.
Yeah, of course. Why not?
You know what happens? You open the box.
So you get it's the box is actually a prison, and there's like a single alien in there. He is, I think he is a of the Builder race. Do we know the name of the Builder race yet? At this point, I forget.
Not at this point in the game, but we'll know
Okay.
next week.
He is of the Builder race, and he says he's been trapped in the box, like his subconscious has been trapped in there for thousands of years, and he is able to get out of the box by taking over your body if you beat him in a if he beats you in a series of riddles. So you guys have like a riddle off basically, and you go back and forth on these like linguistic riddles, and the one that you give him that if you beat him, I don't know what happens if you don't beat him. I assume you just like the game's over. But if you beat him, the one that you use to beat him is that you have one of those like you are driving the bus, this many people get on, this many people get off type quizzes. And he's like doing all this math. He's like, oh, that got me so flustered. And then the answer or the question is, who is driving the bus, right? And he's like, I don't know. And you're like, one, it's just me. He's like, oh, I lost. Fine, you can have your body back.
It's funny. He's like this, been in this box for thousands of years, and if you talk to him, so you can't fight him because you're not physically in the box, just your mind, your consciousness is in it. So he's like for thousands of years, I figured out the way out, and you have to be willing to do this, blah blah blah. And it's like the way that you get him, he's like, math, my only weakness. Oh no. But yeah, if you fail, he goes, "Oh, you lost. See you later." And then he leaves and you're stuck in the box. And it lets you stay in the box for like 3 or 4 seconds because you're like, wait, is this it? And then a splashing comes and says your entire party has died. Game over.
Shit, he kills your party or
Yeah,
something.
because so he if you're aggressive with him, right at the beginning because you can talk to him for a little bit. If you're really aggressive right away, he goes, "Ah, so your species is violent as well. Mine is too, but we can't be violent in this box, so let's use our minds or something." And yeah, and you get into a riddle off.
All right, so let's wrap up real quick here. We'll do Jolie's side quest real quick. It's the last one we haven't really touched on. So, like, you learn basically, Jolie met this woman who was sent to the forest. He decides like, I'm gonna marry her and teach her to be a Jedi. The council's like, no, no, this is a bad idea. Don't do this. And then she ends up falling to the dark side. He can't kill her. She kills a bunch of Jedi. He has to kill her later on. So, tragic story.
And then And then what happens is he gets so they fight. This is in like the Exar Kun War, which is like the pre-Jedi Civil War, and he gets tried for his actions as like, oh, you had this, you trained this person against our wishes, and she fell to the dark side. And you're like, oh, like what? So what happened? You were deemed guilty. That's why you left. He's like, no, I was deemed innocent. Like that's insane. I committed a crime. Like I should have been punished, and I wasn't. Like that's just the craziest Jedi hubris I've ever seen. And that's why he isolates himself. So it's a very interesting sort of like moral dispute and a very, you know, that's like he's just a very interesting character.
Yeah, I think so, sure, for sure. And that's it for this week here. The second here. Next week, we're gonna finish the game because we got the final star map. We can go figure out where the Star Forge is and solve the end of this game here next. So that's gonna be a fun spot.
Yeah, it feels like we've been playing this game forever, but it also feels like we just started.
Yep, the last week radio game played. Thank you guys for coming on here, Nick. If you want to follow you on social media and the Twitch stuff, how can I do that?
Yeah, so go to twitch.tv/the recovery room. Links for other stuff are there. And I actually, before we started recording this today, I started a new game on Twitch. I'm playing a game called Date Everything. And it's a game where you can literally date everything. So right now I'm working on a romance between my kitchen sink and my coffee maker. So check that out if you want to know what that's all about.
All right, sounds good to me. Max, people want to follow you on social media. One more time, how can I do that?
Sky Guys Podcast or email skyguyspod@gmail.com.
Yep, because follow me on social media at mphillips331. It's MPHILIPS331. You go over the Just on the Suffering podcast. Talk some Yankees baseball here. I talked to Max Goodman of NJ Advanced Media about the Yankees here, and interesting spot here. It's just a couple weeks before the All-Star break. Yankees are, trying to hang on to first place in the American League East.
Mets are trying not to fall apart. And also, I want to point out my prediction for the NBA Finals was right. It was OKC in 7. So
You did get that right, so we'll put that out here. We'll be back next week with the conclusion of KOTOR. We finished out Knights of the Republic. Until then, may the Force be with you.